Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Seahawks post-game show, the Real Hawk Talk Seahawks post-game show. I am Brian Nemhauser at Hawk Blogger on Twitter, and I'm joined by Jeff Simmons at Real Jeff Simmons on Twitter. We are going to spend a little bit of time breaking down the Seahawks 23-20 overtime loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers in what was Geno Smith's first start for the Seahawks, first start in over 4 years. And there was a surprisingly significant amount of things to go over in this game. Jeff, before we get into it, I do want to just make sure we take a second and send our best wishes to Darrell Taylor, who was carted off the field. We don't know the details. The latest report we heard was he had movement and feeling in all his extremities, which is really good news. He was on his way to the hospital, and you have to hope that it's a precautionary piece. They're very careful with anything related to neck injuries, and hopefully he's okay, but I can't assume that. And so definitely wishing him the best. Okay, Jeff, let's get you started. What, off the cuff, what are your thoughts about what you saw tonight?
It was an admirable effort. I thought the first half obviously was pretty gross and what a team looks like with a backup quarterback. My big takeaways from the game is, one, this was a game early in the year I sort of checked as a win, and Pittsburgh was as bad as I thought they were. The fact that they go toe-to-toe with a very depleted Seahawks team. So I had that. If Russell plays that game, that's a pretty easy win, I think, for Seattle. Big takeaways, there were some bright spots. I thought Trey Brown offered a lot of excitement, that play in overtime. Should have put the team in pretty good position. I thought the run game was pretty good tonight. I hated that holding call on Alex Collins. I thought that was a play. And there were times where I was annoyed that they were playing a little scared with Geno. They were keeping the training wheels on. But you see why in overtime they probably did that. He fumbles the ball. The team doesn't really block TJ Watt in the two biggest plays of the game. So there were some bright spots. There were some definitely things that could carry over from other games. The defense played better for sure, but the corners were a lot better once Trey Brown came in, and you saw some better things. But again, it just doesn't look like big picture. It's a lot of what you said. It doesn't look like a championship level team. And the fact that we got an entertaining game that gave us a lot of things to laugh at and have fun with. It was better a game than I thought it would be, to be honest. I thought it was going to be like a 26-13. More similar to the first half.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's a bunch of pieces to touch on, and yeah. I guess I don't want to go too deep on it because I'll probably be the only person with this perspective. But I saw a bunch of people that had your point of view that if Russell's playing, this is an easy win. I'm not so sure. Like, the offense has struggled. Various points during the year. They were having trouble protecting the passer. Russell certainly has gotten sacked plenty. The plays where they were making progress, where they were handing the ball off in the second half, like every play. Would they have done that with Russell Wilson? Would Russell Wilson have stayed with that in the same way? Okay. I just don't know that for sure. It's an easy win with Russell. I think that probably he does better than Geno. But the Seahawks scored more points in the third quarter today than they've scored in any game this season. So, take that for what it's worth. So I thought there's a lot of stories of the game, but can we talk about some of the funny moments for a second? Like,
for sure.
I was in hysterics when Ben Roethlisberger rifled the ball and it just hit Jamal Adams in the face, dude. Could not have been a bigger moment. Jamal finally makes like a break, like he's breaking on the ball in the right time, the right place, and he just like gets destroyed in the face.
Oh, like, this is just not his year.
No, right? Like,
I was laughing very hard at that too.
The poor guy cannot catch a break. I don't think he must not even think to try to like make a play on the ball. He's just looking to hit somebody because I mean that just That was one play that had me cracking up. There's others. Did you have a play that had you laughing?
Well, the fact that they fumbled twice on the last drive of the fourth quarter. I don't know what the hell DK was doing. He's catching the ball right at the sideline. All he's got to do is step out of bounds. It's a great play. They might even be able to run another play. And he fumbles the ball. DJ Dallas, I was cracking up when he caught it and he instantly fumbles the ball. He did scoop it up. And yeah.
That play by DK, I mean, he means well. He's done some of those before, but as soon as someone makes contact with you in that situation, you've already gotten into field goal range and you picked up some extra yard, which was smart. But then just exit, like just take one step to your left and it's a perfect play. But he just kept fighting. I mean, in some ways, I don't know if he had not fumbled, if he would have been tackled in bounds. Like it didn't look like his momentum was going to carry him out of bounds, which would have just been horrible. And they almost lost. So I'm going to remind people in chat live. I get people are emotional. We are going to be putting anyone who all caps in a timeout. So like, please just make your points, but don't scream at people in the chat. That's not what we want here. While we're at it, please take a chance to give the show a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, click the bell to get notified when we go live, and head over to patreon.com/hawkblogger to join up and join our Slack community, where there will certainly be a lot of conversations going on about this game. The multiple fumbles, the fact that the Seahawks had that fumble luck was crazy. There were some other plays. I mean, I don't know. The Big Ben fumble. I mean, he's good. I think he's good for a turnover a game right now with the way he's playing. And he finally made that play. And I feel like that was the point where the Seahawks then ran the ball right away and got that holding call, right? Is that?
Yeah. They run it right into the 25-yard line. They call holding. That was the last we saw of Alex Collins.
Yeah. Did he get hurt?
I don't know. I saw someone mention on Twitter that he was. I don't know.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything, but it was weird that they were like running Travis Homer on the first play of overtime and DJ Dallas. Yeah, I'm seeing it all through the chat. Like people are just like Pete Carroll sucks and John Schneider sucks. And like, I get that general sentiment. This seems like a weird game to be calling out those guys. Like, I feel like the Seahawks, they outperformed pretty much all expectations. And especially when they went down 14-0, I feel like if anything, that's a pretty encouraging coaching outcome, I would think. I don't know what you think, Jeff.
Yeah, like they're clearly the undermanned team tonight. And I thought, more importantly, again, I looked at this more of a preseason approach than I know a lot of people are upset they lost. But to me, I thought their youth and some of their young players and the key guys we're talking about moving forward with, I thought for the most part, there was a lot of promise in those guys. So I'm more focused on that than guys. Listen, if we want to come up with negative things, they're certainly there. Their pass protection was not very good. They couldn't block TJ Watt. They were at the 50-yard line, 3rd and 5. They can't get a playoff. 3rd and 2 after they're driving early in the game and they lose. There's a lot of things you can complain about. Sure, Pete Carroll and John Schneider. I don't think this is the game for that. I thought the Vikings game would be a good one for that. Even the Rams game to an extent.
Yeah.
Titans, the Vikings game was pretty depressing considering how bad the Vikings have been since then. But tonight, like, I don't know. They did what they could with the backup quarterback. They went to overtime on the road in Pittsburgh. Like, we all predicted a loss. I thought they overachieved, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there were some good performances, better than they've played so far this year performances. A couple of guys that stood out to me. So, I mean, you got to start with Trey Brown.
Yeah.
First game, that tackle he made was amazing. Like that situation, that moment, like he could not give up a single yard from there, and just a huge stick there. his coverage early in the game where he screened off, I think it was Chase Claypool, I'm not sure, but that was amazing technique, just fantastic. He just looked great. And it was a little frustrating that they brought Sidney Jones in. I think all of us were frustrated that they brought him in after Trey Brown had looked good. Unfortunately, Sidney Jones got hurt, but it was nice to see Trey Brown look like he might be someone that can help. Maybe now, maybe down the road as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was one of the more encouraging signs of the game. I thought Trey made the play in overtime where they get the ball, and if they kick a field goal, they win the game. And I thought his coverage skills, I thought Claypool only finishing with 7 yards on 2 catches on 9 targets. I thought he was a guy who might roast this secondary. So I think he was pretty good. I thought DJ Reed drew a pretty big offensive pass interference penalty late in the game. But yeah, I thought Trey Brown showed a lot of encouraging signs, and Sidney Jones just looked like a guy out there really every game. He was better than what we saw at Flowers, but
yeah,
Trey Brown, at least, again, he's a guy who he was everything he was advertised coming out of the draft tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Collins, I hope he's okay. I thought he looked great tonight. I'm not sure Chris Carson would have had the yards that Alex Collins did tonight. I thought he ran creatively and strong. I thought who's the other guy I was going to bring up? I'm trying to I thought DJ Reed had a pretty good game.
Yeah, I agree.
Competitive game at corner. Nice to say 2 corners who played relatively well. It's funny, Bobby and Jordan Brooks both finished with 14 tackles. I did not feel like Jordan Brooks had a good game. I thought his tackles were a lot like tackling guys 9 yards down the field. I thought Bobby played pretty well. So Dale Taylor, unfortunately, I mean, I thought was playing pretty well. It wasn't like great, but he was the only one getting close to pressure. The Seahawks end up with 1 quarterback hit and no sacks on the night. So that was a huge part of this game. But I mean, Jeff, overall, when you look at the defense, I mean, they will not set the NFL record for a number of consecutive games giving up over 450 yards. They gave up 345 tonight. I thought the defense played pretty well. Like, all in all, like what would your letter grade be for the Seahawks defense tonight?
I give them a B.
Yeah. Yeah. On the road with an offense that wasn't really doing anything. I don't think they're going up against a great offense, but I think they kept the Seahawks in the game and did pretty well. Steelers ended up 5 for 14 on 3rd downs. So that was nice to see. And I thought they actually were relatively consistent in defending the run tonight. I think the Steelers clearly were just trying to run over the Seahawks, and they really weren't able to do that. How did the team perform relative to your expectations on offense? Not how were they in general, because obviously they weren't great, but relative to what you expected, how would you grade the Seahawks offense?
Probably a C.
Yeah.
I found the 3rd quarter, the run game was a real strength. I thought they were really clicking. I thought the 2 guards were opening up some pretty big holes in the 3rd quarter, but it seemed like they were playing. It reminded me a lot of watching offense when Tarvaris Jackson was the quarterback. And even like the fumble at the end was kind of similar to how he lost a couple of games. There were just moments where it just felt like the training wheels were on Geno, where there was like a 3rd and 10 and a key moment after the Hyder recovery, and they throw the 1 yard pass to Freddie Swain behind the line of scrimmage. And they didn't really. The best part about watching Geno last week was he really looked like he cut it loose. And maybe that's because they didn't game plan him. Maybe because they were already down double digits. But today he played like a coach who was playing with their backup quarterback. So really, for the first half, there was pretty much nothing going. There was some nice plays to the tight end, and then in overtime, you saw them in the last drive of the 4th quarter. You saw him cut it loose a little bit, and he moved the ball down the field. So that was encouraging. He gave them a chance to win the game. They're moving up to the 50-yard line. I thought the throw he made to Lockett in overtime was very nice. But there wasn't a lot of standout plays. Some of the stuff we saw last week didn't show up this week. And sort of what we expected. I didn't think Tyler Lockett would be a big factor with Geno Smith. I don't think they meshed very well. He had 2 catches in the game. DK was not targeted enough, in my opinion. He still ended up with 7 targets, but how many were on that last drive? 2 or 3 makes those 2 sideline catches that are pretty big. I thought they should have found a way to incorporate him a little easier, but Pittsburgh's got a good secondary. So the offense was okay. There's moments where they looked good. There's moments where they looked awful. They obviously lose the game because of the fumble where he doesn't see TJ Watt coming, but overall it was fine. That's what you expect from a backup quarterback. He had more yards per pass than Ben, 6.5 yards per pass. I don't blame Geno Smith. That's what a backup quarterback looks like.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this. Geno Smith's not good. In fact, he's pretty bad. And I was actually disappointed with his performance tonight. I was hoping to see. Yes, I definitely thought the coaches had the training wheels on, as you said, but I thought he looked like he needed them, to be honest. He looked tentative in a lot of his throws. He was not hitting the top of his drop and letting it go. That might have been because things were covered, but he looked so much more comfortable last week coming in and throwing slants, throwing the ball down the field, running and scrambling. And he just seemed, I think this game meant so much to him. I think he knows how much this is his last chance to be more than just a backup. And we all think that's like, right, you're not going to be more than a backup, but in his mind, this is his chance. And so I think he had a lot of pressure on him tonight, and it showed. So I was disappointed for him. And, we talked about it, like he's good for, in his career, he's good for turnovers, like you just know he's going to turn the ball over.
Yeah, you called it on Wednesday.
It's a shame. I was so sure it was like that throw he made to Tyler. I fully expected when the camera panned over for that to be like settling into a Steelers secondary hands, but it was a great throw. And I was like, whoa, this might happen. But then at the end, didn't carry the ball properly, and I feel for the guy. I'm not gonna hate on Geno much because, he is what he is, and I thought he gave the team a chance tonight. And like you said, that's what you hope to get out of your backup quarterback, especially on the road, tough environment, Sunday Night Football. So what I mean. Well, I guess one of the things I'm just kind of wondering, I feel like the Seahawks win this game if that holding call isn't made on Jamarco Jones. Do you think that that's too extreme of a too homer of a take?
I don't think it's too homer. I think they probably would have scored another 3 points, and they probably would have won by 3. And they were controlling the game at that point. 14-0 and 17-all, and they get first down at the 25. It just seemed like the game was turning at that point. And it just feels like the Seahawks, every time they're about to win games, so many times they just get that holding penalty, that back-breaking holding penalty. This one was pretty ticky-tack. I didn't like that call. But
this never got outside the frame or anything. Like there was a little bit of a jersey tug, but it was pretty minor.
Yeah, I don't think that should have been called. You can call that every single play.
That would have been first down at the Pittsburgh 19-yard line.
Yeah, and then they didn't score a point on that drive.
Yeah, and I don't know if they would have settled for a field goal. I mean,
you know what? I want to call out one guy negative. Yeah. I thought Michael Dixon had a terrible game.
Oof, he did.
Because it just made me think of that drive where they end up throwing that 3rd and 10 play to Freddie Swain. He loses yards. They're at the 40. And Dixon punts it through the end zone. It's just that was a sequence where I'm like, okay, I don't think they're going to win. But
and not just that. I mean, part of the reason I don't kill the defense as much is Dixon had a 24-yard punt. He completely started the Steelers offense. They had 0 points before that. Yeah. He gives them the ball at midfield practically.
Yeah.
And the defense needs help, man. They're not going to do it all on their own. And the Steelers basically just had a few little plays and then managed to get in. So, yeah, I agree with you. This is a disappointing game for Dixon. On the flip side, I kept expecting Jason. I expected him to miss every extra point. I expected him to miss every field goal, and he made them all. So, I mean, clutched up, man. I fully expected him to miss that field goal after all that rigmarole.
So did I.
Like that would have been total Seahawks football.
I couldn't watch that at that point. I was like, I don't want to see him miss the field goal.
Yeah. So the Seahawks are now 2-4. Oh, by the way, we're getting some updates from Pete now. Damian Lewis has a sprained AC joint. And that they got a really good preliminary report on Darrell Taylor. First CT scan was clear. So Taylor didn't want to be carted off, but had to as a precaution. So as we kind of talked about, they're super careful with any spinal neck injuries. They don't want to take any chance. And I'm glad. Like, let's take any risk out of it that they possibly can. He does say that Alex Collins was hurt. He got hit in the hip and glute, and that's the reason he couldn't go in overtime, which is a big deal because the Seahawks are out with Chris Carson for the next 3 weeks. He's on IR. Rashad Penny is coming back. He might get all the carries if Alex Collins. Now they do have, it's a Monday night game, I think, against.
Yes, there's another primetime game.
Poor networks. Geno Smith and
Jameis.
Rashad Penny. Yeah, so nice. I want to call out nice tweet from Trey Flowers that he really wanted. He said, "I wanted that bad for you, 7."
Yeah,
Geno Smith.
He's from all indications, he's really well liked on the team.
Yeah,
like I heard Luke Wilson even on like Canadian radio this week saying like he was one of his best friends on the team, one of his favorite guys.
Yeah,
but he's just a limited player.
Oh man, that would have been fun. Can I tell you something secret about this? That's only between you and me. So, on our show, I picked the Seahawks to lose, and I went on Pittsburgh, podcast and picked the Seahawks to lose. But I also was like looking at this game, and I'm like, this is totally like the Steelers are not that good. The line is moving up like crazy. Geno Smith is an unknown. Maybe he plays better. So I went and I actually bet on this game. I bet the money line for the Seahawks to win.
Oh man.
And
sweet.
The last time I bet on the Seahawks game, because I just don't bet that much. It's like a waste of money. But
yeah,
I wanted to have a little something more to cheer for tonight. Last time I bet on the Seahawks was 2007 when they were in Arizona. And you'll remember this game. Matt Hasselbeck they're heading down to win the game. Matt Hasselbeck goes to hand it off to Sean Alexander.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And they mess up the handoff. He fumbles, and Arizona recovers, and they go down and kick a field goal to win. I bet $500 on that game. I don't bet. Like, I was so sure. I was like, this is the easiest. The Seahawks are absolutely going to win by 3 points or more. There's a 2.5 point line.
They're going to win.
That happened. And I was like, I'm never, ever betting on the Seahawks again.
So I remember that. I think after that, they stopped running like the rest of the season.
Oh my God. It was so bad, dude. And so, yeah, today I went into the Snoqualmie Casino Sportbook for the first time and laid some money on the Seahawks. And there was a moment there. I was like, well, this actually might pay out. But
there was a couple times in the fourth quarter. I'm like, okay, they might actually win this game, but
I actually won. But yeah,
could have won. Yeah,
it was rough. Thoughts on Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and how they were used. I mean, we kind of talked about the differences about how Tyler might be used versus DK with Geno. It seemed like that came to fruition tonight.
Yeah, I think Geno is just Lockett's more of I thought they would just run a little more simple routes, like play action, dump the ball in the flat to the tight end, or get Lockett in space and stuff like that. But it seemed like they were trying to run an offense that there wasn't a lot of motion. There wasn't a lot of, we didn't see a lot of like the DK throws on time until that last drive. I thought that was one of the more encouraging things from this previous game. So I thought DK would be highly targeted. I think he got 7 targets, and I think Lockett only had 2 catches. It was similar. I just think Lockett, the way he plays, suits Russell so well, and I didn't think he would suit Geno. And I thought you might see more Disley and more Everett, but I think Everett had a couple of good plays early, but after that, nothing.
Isn't that weird, dude? Like Gerald Everett, number one free agent signing. They paid him more than any other free agent. He was their first free agent they signed. He had two catches tonight. One was like one of the first plays of the game, if not the first play, and it was like a pop pass, like or not pop pass, a shovel pass for like negative yardage. And then he had a 41-yard catch and run. And it was a pretty impressive catch and run. And it's like,
Why don't we
where
do
is
that?
he? Like, why? Forget even this game. Like, I know he missed a couple games with COVID, but when he was available, Waldron and Russ did not seem to utilize him, and it feels like he's a weapon. So yeah, I agree with you. It would have been nice to see that. There's that one.
How'd you evaluate Waldron tonight?
Pretty poorly, I think.
I agree. I thought he had a bad game.
It was like a lot of those obvious screenplays at obvious times. I think that it's hard to give him credit for the running game that worked in the third quarter. It really feels like Pete Carroll basically said, "Run the goddamn ball." Yeah, I don't know.
I just thought there was like things were weirdly timed. Like there was in the third or fourth quarter, I think it was late in the third quarter, they're 3rd and 2. They're about to they're in the drive to tie the game. I think it was 17-14. They just run the ball like down their throat for like the whole third quarter. And then they drop back and Geno Smith takes a 10-yard sack. Like I don't know why you're not running the ball there. And then the next series, like they're starting to cut it loose and there's some obvious passing situations and they started running the ball in like 2nd and 20, and there was that 3rd and 7 homer run that worked out. There was some just I don't know. I found like they were doing the wrong thing at the wrong time too many times in this game. But again, it's hard to call a game with a backup quarterback, and it's not an easy job. But I didn't think he had a particularly good game.
I'm still laughing about the Jamal Adams. Get off his face.
So what do you think of this? I just saw this tweet from Brock Huard. It sort of jumped out to me. He said, Seahawks effort was gritty. Seahawks execution was spotty. Seahawks youth was encouraging. Seahawks football IQ was embarrassing.
What do
Did
you
you
think?
did you come away with that takeaway?
Which part? The football IQ part?
Yeah, like it seemed pretty.
Well, the DK play was definitely not a smart play.
No. But like other than that, there wasn't a lot of.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue the Geno scramble, but that wasn't like, I don't know.
Again, that's just what happens with backup quarterbacks. Like
Yeah.
Everest Jackson that one year. I'm picturing a San Francisco game where they're driving down the field and he doesn't feel the guy coming. They strip sack him. Like it felt all like that.
So let me ask you this because it's going to keep coming up. We'll talk probably more about it this week, but came out that Cam Newton has been vaccinated, and there's certainly going to be folks that are like, sign Cam Newton. What's your, after this game, are you like, yeah, go get Cam Newton? Are you like, yeah, just stay with Geno? Where do you come down on this one?
I don't see the point of signing Cam Newton. He's such a limited player at this point of his career, and he doesn't know the offense. So if you sign him, he's only going to play, 3 games max? If you come in and sign him, if you sign him to be the starter, he's going to play 2 or 3 games. Doesn't know the offense. You're going to have to design an offense that doesn't really fit DK or Tyler at all. If you saw him in New England last year, he can't really throw the ball at this point of his career anymore. I don't see any value in that. I think that's pure fan fiction. I don't think you understand the game. They don't have the running game that pairs with Cam, and they don't really have the receivers that would really pair with Cam at this point. So DK and Tyler's best skill is getting vertical and getting down the field. Cam Newton does not have a deep ball anymore at this point of his career. If Russell was out for the entire season and maybe Pete's on his last legs or something, maybe, sure. But Pete, I think that game probably inspired Pete in a weird way and probably recooked some fires. When we were talking about last week, he looked pretty out of it. I feel like that game's probably the game that probably got his juices going again, because I don't know. And if you're looking to get Pete fired, that's not the best thing, or Pete leaving. So I'll back to your question though. I don't see Cam Newton. I think that's pure fan nonsense. That's completely illogical.
Yeah, I see it exactly like you do. So I'm not gonna belabor it, I'll just reiterate your point about Russ. Like if Russ was at the full season, I think it's a different conversation, but 2 more games, maybe, we don't know. Like there's some encouraging reports about where Russ is in his rehab. I just don't know why you'd sign any other quarterback for 2 games. You know, if Geno goes out with an injury, then sure.
Yeah, I get why people are saying that, because it's a strange year. This is what I've started alluding to you before the year. Right now, there's like 5 playoff teams in the NFC, and they're all pretty much locked up. There's Arizona, there's Tampa, there's Green Bay, Dallas, and the Rams. Those are 5 teams there. But the next two more teams have to make the playoffs, and there's no other good teams in the NFC. It's all crap. So I get why people are trying to chase these wins. It's right now you're looking at New Orleans, Minnesota, Chicago, Carolina, Atlanta. Like those are the teams who are fighting for that last 2 playoff spots. So I get why people are trying to get these wins and they're fighting for it. But again, this is what we talk about. We want to be in that top 5. We don't want to be scratching and clawing to make the playoffs in a down year in the conference. So trying to get Cam Newton to play 2 games versus Geno Smith, if you're actually looking at the big picture, it's almost irrelevant. If they make the 7th seed, they're just going to make the playoffs and lose in the first round. It's sort of
yeah. Well, I think we've kind of covered a lot of the bases on this one. Nice to hear that Darrell Taylor sounds like we got an encouraging report there. I guess closing thoughts here, Jeff. Where's your, did this game change anything in your perspective about your outlook for the rest of the year, what you're hoping for, what you're kind of looking for?
I think it just reemphasizes that I want to see a new vision and a new leadership group of this team. But realistically, no, that was a sort of the best case scenario in terms of like hoping the team plays a functional game. Obviously, it sucks if they keep losing because they don't have a first round pick. But mostly, again, I'm not looking at wins and losses at this point. I know you sort of alluded to the same thing. I want to see the guys that are moving forward and focus on those guys and how the team can get better in the future. Because I don't really care if they make the playoffs this year and what I think is a total meaningless. The 6 and 7 spots in the NFC are going to suck. Yeah. And I don't really care. It's sort of like in the NBA. If you finish in the 8th seed, it reminds me of that. Like there's nothing worse than finishing the 8th seed, getting crushed in the first round, and then you're nowhere. So I want to see things that are more important for the future of this team. If Trey Brown is going to take a step, that's huge to me. If Darrell Taylor is healthy and that's not a serious injury, that's important. But really, that game did not change any of my thought. I was almost in some twisted level hoping for more chaos, which would really make the game up. But the game was close, so I don't think that I didn't get that level satisfied. But yeah, realistically, I'd say nothing changed.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what I said a little bit earlier, that I leave the game, my most predominant feeling is impressed. Not that they're great, not that like there's anything like glowing, but as bad as they've been this year on offense and on defense, even on special teams and coaching, to be down 14-0 and shown pretty much nothing, and looking like they're back in the same script of now the defense can't stop anybody and it's just going to snowball. For them to come out and not just end up getting back in the game, but tie it, for them to do it in a style where they just out physicaled the Steelers, they ran it down their throats, and they actually did what they intended to do, which is to get the Steelers to get out of the 2 deep defense that they were playing. And there's just been a very few times that I can think of in recent memory where the Seahawks have dictated anything to anybody on offense to where the defense is having to adjust, and then the Seahawks go from there. So I have very low expectations for this team in general, and I thought that they exceeded them, and I thought there was a real chance they could end up winning this game. It would have been a little bit crazy, but so be it. That said, there's not going to be many games the rest of this year where I expect the Seahawks to win. Doesn't matter if it's at home, on the road. I'm not going to go into the game against Jacksonville at home and be like, this is a lock at all. And I don't think anybody should. I don't think the Seahawks are that good. And they're 2-4 now. I think that's what they are. And so man, that one of those 2 wins, that 49ers game could have definitely gone differently if that first half had gone differently. So anyway, I think we'll leave it there. Certainly disappointing to lose again. It was fun. I'm happy that I had something fun. But man, Jeff, I wish I could say I don't care, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't slam my hand on a table when they gave up the second touchdown. We're down 14-0. I don't like seeing them lose. I don't like it, no matter
I
what.
think I was most angry when they get the fumble. They are about to take the game over. They're starting at the 35, and they get no points a game. And they lose, like, they gain 20 yards of field position. I think that was where I was just like, shit. I was pretty pissed. But even when they, like, I wasn't that upset when they lost the game when Geno fumbled. But I think that was the most upset I got during, and that holding penalty. I hate that. I hate that the Steelers are like whining about bad calls against us too. That brings back bad memories for me.
Yeah. I really will. Like, one of the memories I'll have from this is Geno's the shot of Geno realizing that he lost the fumble. That was just a player seeing his dreams like just come crashing down. I felt so bad for the dude. I really did.
Because they showed a pretty good amount of fight to do a 2-minute drill. And Joel Adams potentially has that interception right in his hand.
Oh my God.
What a
God. Yeah, I know. All right, dude. Well, thanks for joining tonight. And thanks everybody else for coming on. If you haven't already, please give the show a like. Coming on here after a disappointing loss. Nice to at least get a thumbs up. We appreciate that. Click subscribe, click the bell to get notified when we go live, and go over to patreon.com/hawkblogger. Get immediate access to our Slack channel. Always a good time, always good conversations there. So appreciate it. And until we see you Wednesday night, have a great rest of your week.